Hi, I'm Jacqueline Rinksmeyer with the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Jared Fry, General Manager of Medina TV and Public Information Officer for the City of Medina.
We are pleased to partner with Medina TV with Jared Fry and Matt Tomick to bring you this Candidates Forum. Candidates in contested races were invited to participate.
The views expressed by the candidates during these candidate forums are not those necessarily of Medina TV or the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
The goal of the Candidates Forum is to educate and inform, but you need to take the next step. Vote early at the Board of Elections or in person on November 4th. Thank you for taking the time to be an educated voter. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the 2025 Candidates Forum.
Joining us in studio now is Robert Skidmore, candidate for Montville Township Trustee. Again, Montville Township Trustee. That kind of stumbled out wrong there for me. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great.
Thanks, Jared.
Great to have you here. And first, for people that may not know you, just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, Jared, feel free to call me Rob. I've been a lifelong resident of the county, and I grew up in Montville Township. And then when I got married, we moved to the city, and we lived there for several years. And then we built a house in Montville Township in 2007. We have 2 children that went through Medina City Schools, and they're both married. Our daughter's in Columbus with her husband, and our son is married and has a son and lives in Wadsworth, and he's now a prosecutor in Portage County and working there, and our daughter is in HR in Columbus. And so my wife and I met in school here at Medina, and we went to college together at Mount Vernon Nazarene University. I got a master's degree in business administration from Ashland, and then I went to the University of Akron Law School and have my Juris Doctor in 2001, became a licensed attorney in 2001. We own a family business, Transfer Title, used to be Medina County Title, and my dad and his law partner started it back in 1967. My brother Lee Skidmore and I are business partners with that business as well as the law firm Skidmore and Hall. And we have a general practice and do all sorts of types of legal practice as far as forming organizations, real estate matters, commercial, residential. We've been involved quite a bit historically. Our company, Transfer Title, which was Medina County Title, was involved with one of the first subdivisions in Montville Township, which was Rustic Hills. That was the first subdivision that was put in. So Medina County Title closed almost all those transactions and so forth. But yeah, the township has grown. I'm probably getting into future questions, but the township's grown quite a bit from when I was a child and in that period. But yeah, our family is in the area. We love Medina County. We love Medina City Schools. I served for 8 years on Medina City Schools, 2 terms. I promised 2 terms, and that's what I did. I felt that lifetime jobs are not good for political service, in my opinion. And to each his own, but 2 terms I felt was good, and I enjoyed it. The voters elected me both times, and we came in kind of during a difficult period with an HR issue with the former superintendent, which resolved, and I was happy to see that resolved. And we kind of had a whole changeover of the board after that happened. During that period, we did a lot of different things to increase transparency, and we learned a lot from the mistakes that were made during that period. And we learned a lot of things were actually working well too. Okay, so there's that aspect of it too. But there were some transparency things that we improved and are still adopted, I think, to this day within Medina City Schools. And I had a part in helping to hire both the treasurer here, Mr. Chambers with Medina City Schools, and Mr. Sable, and then at the Career Center with Mr. Chrisman and Mr. Butt, who's the treasurer over there. I was on the Career Center board for 7 years and thoroughly enjoyed serving out there. It's a great group of people at the Career Center, and you get to know other board members from throughout the part of the county, except for Wadsworth. But yeah, so I really enjoyed that. But
yeah, so you mentioned your 8 years entering the political arena when you ran for school board here at Medina City Schools. What has decided to make you throw your hat in the arena, so to speak, again and run for trustee?
Well, I think there's several areas that I think can be improved. I think that as far as the fiscal responsibility, I feel that the township can do a slightly better job at fiscal spending, and as far as or not spending, to try to live within their means of the township, to go that way. That's one of the issues. I also am a believer that the voters are living in a township because of the freedoms that the township provides. I know several years ago the township chose a garbage vendor that everybody has to work with, and we do. And they just recently approved a new 8-year contract. But there wasn't really a lot of transparency with that, from the standpoint that the citizens could know they had 3 proposals and who they were and so forth, and what the differences were. And they did a long-term contract. We've had some real service issues, especially during COVID. But even here a week or so ago, we had an issue where, unlike the city, we have both recycling and regular trash collection, and occasionally they don't pick up one of them. So that's, I think that could be improved. And I think, allowing township voters to make decisions like that. I think the other thing is there's some zoning issues that can be improved. I know parts of the zoning map have 4-acre minimums, and I think 4 acres chews up farmland faster than 2 acres. Mm-hmm. And so I think they should consider going, and actually 4 acres, if you've ever had a 4-acre property, it's a lot of property to maintain for somebody, probably more than they need to have in most circumstances. If they're not farming, that's a large piece. So I think allowing 2 acres really is a positive thing that would allow, with septic, guidelines, it should be fine with 2 acres. They probably could put septic on 1 acre if they wanted to, but 2 acres is fine to have as a minimum. But you go to some of these townships like Homer, where they had 10-acre lots, again, it just chews up the farms a lot faster. So I think going back to a 2-acre minimum would be better. I've also heard from voters that if they have several acres and they have an outbuilding that they've gotten a permit for, to do a second outbuilding and pay $600 for a variance and everything, just is a burden to them. And I'm not sure that would work everywhere within the township, but maybe our zoning commission should explore whether parts of the township should be allowing maybe 2 outbuildings for those purposes. Somebody will build one to put their mowers in, and then they want to do one to garden or something. Well, now they've got to tear down the one, to do the other one, or go get a variance, and they might have to hire a lawyer for the variance. It's just it's too much interference, in my opinion, with that. So, again, we have, traditional, in the past, it was primarily farming. So if they were building a building for farming purposes, they didn't have to get a permit and so forth. But I think, again, now some lots that are bound by deed restrictions and so forth, that's a whole different story. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to follow their deed restrictions. But I do think that there's some rationality that could be looked at with that wouldn't interfere with neighbors and would allow people to use their property that they own and that they're paying tax on. They should be able to use their property. I'm a big believer in property rights and respecting property rights. I also think that the roundabouts, I think, are a double-sided coin. They can work well once they're built. But also, as a lifetime Medina County guy, I don't want roundabouts at every intersection. I just think that they take away a lot of the character from the county. I think that they, and actually the one that was built here on Worcester Pike, unfortunately, a truck driver passed away after it was built. And the way it's engineered, I don't know if it's the best way. It really jogs a certain way. But again, I drive it every day. I come from south of town through there. I appreciate the fact that the traffic flows and moves. But I also think, and I know the one that they're looking to put in that's had some question about how it got approved, but the one down there at River Styx and Sharon Copley, that's like 5 or 6 acres that they're taking from the neighbors there. And I know the one family, it's going to literally come up very close to their home. And I think we should look at solutions that don't do that to people. They've lived there for 20, 30, 40 years. This is their home. We should respect their home. If somebody came to your home and said, we're going to take half your property, you probably wouldn't be very happy. And I recognize that there are times and places where takings must happen, but I'm a firm believer that as a local township, that we should respect our people that live in our township and the properties that they purchased and they've paid taxes for all these years. I'm a believer in that. So again, I'm not saying that roundabouts never have a place. They do. And somebody told me the other day, well, roundabouts are a new thing and 20 years, what? Well, they're not a new thing. Look at Sharon Center. There's a roundabout there. The whole town is built around a roundabout. And it makes a lot of sense. It's done well. They've just recently done a beautiful gazebo there. They've redone it. It's beautiful. It's not just, basically cement in the middle of it and without a plan to maintain it. And I know that there's one local business that helped to maintain recently the one south of town, but ODOT doesn't seem to really have a provision. They approve these and they fund them, but they don't seem to have a provision there to beautify those or to maintain those. And also, I don't think they're the best for pedestrians. Really. I know the Sharon Center created a new place for people to get across, I saw the other day, which is nice. But I think, and again, that's not within Montville Township, that's over in Sharon. But I think that roundabouts have a place. I wouldn't be excited. You go to some of these places like Indiana or Greene, they have roundabout after roundabout after roundabout. They'll have 2 or 3 lanes. And I think that maybe that's not always the best way to do the communities, in my opinion. I like occasionally to add a traffic light if you got to. So anyway, that's enough about roundabouts.
Well, you kind of mentioned the residential and the roundabout, and that kind of lead me into the next phase that the township also deals with economic development and businesses as well. So how do you look with a lot of development that could be on the horizon for Montville Township and that balance between residential and businesses?
Well, I know the township recently shot down a project that would have caused a lot of economic development on Worcester Pike for people that need assistance with family housing type thing, and it needed a variance, and they shot it down. And I guess you can blame it on the variance commission, or you could say maybe the trustees could have looked at that some. But I'm in favor of development. Like everybody else, you sometimes lament that it didn't used to be as developed as it was. But just like anybody else, we love a Starbucks or we love a Chipotle and Taco Bell here and there. But so I mean, the amenities are great. To have a grocery store now open south of town is very helpful for the residents, and I think that growth needs to continue to be managed and done within the zoning as the way the zoning's set up. I know down Worcester Pike, almost the first 1,000 feet is zoned commercial, so eventually there'll be a lot more commercial development. I think what's impeding it now is probably the water lines and where the table resides, where you have things that go to the Gulf of Mexico, the water that goes to the Gulf of Mexico versus the water that goes to Lake Erie. That watershed line is right there south of town near the Worcester Pike, and that does affect the extension of water lines, which tends to affect commercial development and so forth, because they typically don't want well water for commercial development. And we don't have sewer brought further down south. But so there's some infrastructure things that could be looked at in the future. We have quite a few. I remember as growing up in Rustic Hills, we had well water and we had septic. Rustic Hills now has sewer and water. So over time, that should be looked at. There's quite a few subdivisions that currently are well and septic that could be looked at to make improvements, if there might be some grant monies for that, or different partnerships that could be done with the sanitary engineer and so forth, to allow people to tap in and recoup the cost of developing those lines that weren't available. But the county could assist with that with the township over time. So yes, I'm in favor of development, but again, I really don't want to lose the rural character of the township. People move to the township, they love having a little bit more space, or maybe they move to Fox Meadows, they love to golf. It's a beautiful golf community. The different areas. You said you live in the township as well, and there's a lot of amenities to it. So and we have a great partnership with the city of Medina, with the LST that was done in 1976. I know from having attended some of the meetings recently, there's a burden with that. The costs keep going up, and I know that like a rescue truck now, it used to cost a couple $100,000 just for the truck without it being outfitted. Now they're almost $400,000 plus you outfit them. So I'm sure it's big numbers to buy these rescue trucks, but we need to continue to give good service to people in the township that might need to go by ambulance to the hospital. And those things are great that they exist. I know a couple years ago they explored setting up like a district for that, and they felt that the way the partnership is now saves money. So that's great, but I do know that the costs have gyrated for that pretty substantially. And I know the township's been looking at that, and they've been looking very carefully at the addresses that are being serviced, making sure that they're within the township and that we're getting billed back for that. So we have to look at that. We do have a cemetery in the township, and I hear also there's becoming a little bit more of a burden with people that die without means that need to be buried, and the township has a cost for that and so forth. So the township really helps people, cradle to grave when you think about it. It provides a lot of services, again, in coordination with the city and with the school systems and so forth. The township works hard to work together with those, and I would like to help be a part of that. Yeah.
Now I'm going to follow up with a couple things you brought up in that answer. First, you mentioned earlier in there a little bit about affordable housing. And right now I know that's a big thing across Ohio, the state, and the nation. What are your thoughts on trying to find affordable housing for residents in Montville Township?
It's a very difficult question. It is. And I think that the way that the township currently accomplishes that is by approving these overlay properties, the overlay districts with the zoning. So in other words, if the zoning would require 2 acres or whatever for R1, what they do is, and a developer comes in, he has a plan, he's going to say, well, we're going to green space, 12 acres and a belt, we're going to have this and a pond and all these different amenities and a playground here, which is great, and then there'll be higher density housing. Now again, you can't do that without water and sewer. You can't do that with well and septic, but they've done that, as you know, in parts of the township. But it is an issue. I mean, the post-COVID, everything's gone up. Widgets have gone up, labor's gone up. That's probably not a function the township can really fix. I mean, I think that it is an issue to continue to approve developments that have overlays with it. I know sometimes that they have to look at variances where they change what they've approved in the past. I know I sat in one of the meetings where they did that with one of the developers had made some changes to what they had gotten approved. So you have to balance that. You're right. I mean, it's not just, multi-million-dollar houses. It's all the houses that come in. Some are, need to be made affordable. I know my daughters and her husband are looking in Columbus right now and trying to find something, and it's almost like it was during COVID where there's multiple offers and competing offers. So, I think that's one thing about when the rates change, that prices sometimes start to go up. So, but yeah, the Montville Township is an incredible place to raise a family. The developments there have been well thought out, and I think there's continuous improvement with that. But yes, we do need to continue to look at housing and affordability and so forth. And the zoning probably could be maybe had some tweaks made to it to allow that.
Again, talking with Rob Skidmore, the candidate for Montville Township Trustee. And Rob, if elected, what's kind of the first project or initiative that you would like to take on when you were elected into office?
Well, one of the first things, is probably looking at transparency. And one of the things that we did at Medina was we adopted board docs and using that software. There's a cost for the software, but it allows individuals to see what's going to be on the agenda for a meeting. I know when I've attended meetings and I've requested an agenda, I get a very generic agenda that doesn't show action items. And clearly the trustees know what the action items are. They have a script that they're going from, which is available under the sunshine laws to anybody that wants to get that. But that's something that I think needs to be improved. So the chair of the trustees should be able to offer that to people. And instead of requiring people to come in and make a photocopy of an 80-page contract and paying for that, there's no reason that couldn't. This is 2025. You scan it, you put it in board docs, people have access to it. I know Medina Township gets requests for information and they give them digitally to people as far as email them documents and so forth. So I think that's something that could be done to give more transparency. They also don't have a public comment section. They have introduction of guests, and they like to keep the meetings very informal, which I appreciate, but I would say that those times are probably past, and that having a plan for public comment in your meetings and having a policy of how you handle that, whether you do the public comment at the end or at the beginning. If you do it at the beginning, then you give the public the ability to comment on something you're going to vote on at the meeting. I know as a school board member, public comments were sometimes very helpful. Somebody would see something, and maybe it was something that people hadn't seen for some reason or hadn't really thought about it in the way that was going to impact a certain group. So I welcome public comment. Hopefully it's respectful. I know during COVID it got a little bit heated with both sides of the debate that we had. You either had pro-maskers or anti-maskers during that period. So thank goodness we're beyond that at this point. But with the township, I do feel that with the meeting format, that there could be some changes with that would improve transparency, improve access. I know even I was trying to find out the budget information for the township. I really had to go to the auditor of state to get that. Now the township website's beautiful. There's a police log on there. You can see who gets arrested. You can see everything on there, but it doesn't really have a lot with finances on there. So, I mean, we have like a $7 million budget as a township. So I think there's a lot of improvement with that. The public has a right to see that. It's too bad they have to go to the Secretary of State and read the budget review that's done there. And by the way, the audit that the Secretary of State or that Keith Faber did was very favorable with the township. So there's no problems with the money. Everything's fine with the money, which I'm not inferring that, but I'm inferring that it should be open. It's open information, and that was something we fought for to have done with the schools, to keep things open. I didn't like when in board docs you can have content that you're going to vote on, then you can have another button that says administrative content. Well, administrative content, only board members could see that. I didn't like that. I felt if there was content, it should be open for the public to see. You know, we should be able to look at that. So I'm aware of sunshine laws. One of the things when you get on these boards you don't really think about is you can't just send an email to the other board members. If there's 5 board members, you can't just email all of them and have a discussion. That's a violation of the sunshine laws. So it's the same with the township. If there's 3 trustees, we can't just email each other and say, so I'm aware of these things. I'm very involved with that. Reasons to go in executive session for personnel and so forth. I think that those things are areas that I can help the township.
Again, speaking with Robert Skidmore, I'm saying Robert because that's how they'll see it on the ballot, but we call him here Rob. Just want to make sure you've been great in answering my questions. I just want to make sure I can leave the floor open to you to add a few more comments if you'd like as we wrap up here.
Well, I feel like I've covered just to touch back real quickly on the affordable housing. The 2-acre lots will help with that. 4-acre lots are going to cost more than 2-acre lots. So that's one way to help with affordable housing. But I see the township as a place that's great to raise families. I want to continue to see that. And I want to see that the growth of departments and so forth don't become such that the township's unaffordable. We have one of the highest taxing districts within the whole county, Montville does, and I do think that we need to look at that to make sure we're in line with where we should be with that. I think we need to make the necessary adjustments if that needs to happen. I do know that we built a building a couple years ago, and I'm happy to say that looking at that audit, they're only paying 2% on the mortgage. They got a $3.5 million mortgage to build the new township building, and they're only paying 2% on it. So that's great. The township doesn't seem to have a lot of debt and so forth, so that's good. Townships are very limited in how they raise funds through the taxing mechanism with property taxes. They can't come and do income tax, which I'm glad they don't, but they don't have other mechanisms. The other ways they have, if you rent a building at a park or something, that's not really raising much revenue for the township. So I think we need to continue to look at those things and continue to enhance if there's possibilities in the future of donations for lands that could become parks within the township. I think we should look at that. One of the things, I did leadership Medina County years ago, and one of our speakers talked about the parks that were developed in Cuyahoga County. The ones in 1900, if you look at a map, the ones in 1900 are the same ones today. Like, once you build out, they don't change. It becomes too expensive to change once that happens. So we need to be very forward thinking and working with the Parks District and working with potential donors that want to get a write-off, for that might want to either preserve their property or donate it for the purpose of a park district and so forth, and working with Western Reserve Land Conservancy potentially as well. But I think we should look at those things. Again, no requirements to do those things. I believe in their people's lands, and they should be able to sell it. And if they want to develop it, that's their choice. Or if they don't want to develop it, that's their choice. And we want to, I know there was one property recently that was going to be developed as a subdivision, and I'm hearing that one of the local families that has a farm acquired it. And I thought, that's great. So they're not going to develop it now. So that's pretty cool to see that, so that in the future there'll be some of these properties that have been there in the past that we'll be able to see as you drive along and you enjoy seeing a cornfield or a soybean field or some horses. I know some of the families raise horses in our township, and it's great to see. It is. Yeah. So I hope we can continue that. Yeah. So.
Again, speaking with Rob Skidmore, candidate for Montville Township Trustee. Rob, I want to thank you for taking time with us today. Also entering your hat in the political arena. It takes a lot of courage for everyone to do that, so I appreciate that. And I want to wish you the best of luck this November.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.